everyone, it's Maki. Today, I'd like to discuss a topic related to the Gundam Seed series. Specifically, I'll be discussing the settings of the mobile suits. Keep in mind that what I'm going to talk about today is the kind of detail that sparks debate over whether it should be considered official. It's best to consider it an interpretation that exists rather than a definitive fact. Now, before we dive into the main subject, I have a quick announcement. On my channel, I'm offering membership support. For just 99 cents a month, you can get a name badge and special stamps for your comments. Alright, let's get started. First, let's discuss the engine of the Rising Freedom Gundam. This is the Gundam that Kira Yamato pilots in the first half of the Seed Freedom movie. Many fans have debated whether the Rising Freedom's engine is battery-powered or nuclear-powered. Even at the time this program was produced, official setting books and similar sources did not provide any information about the engines of the Rising Freedom and the Immortal Justice. However, new information was revealed when Seed Freedom joined the game Super Robot Wars DD. This information was revealed during a scene in which Agnes praises Kira. Captain Yamato is amazing. Even though the Rising Freedom doesn't have a nuclear engine, he is still performing as brilliantly as ever. That's what she says. If we take Agnes's words as official, then the Rising Freedom would not have a nuclear engine. For supporting evidence, there's a comment from Mitsuo Fukuda, the director of the Seed series, published in Mechanic and World. He said it's not that you can build a powerful mobile suit just because it has a nuclear engine. In a crisis, the Strike Freedom Type 2's nuclear core overheated so badly that it shut down. And because a nuclear engine can cause serious environmental contamination if it explodes, using it in standard weapons is not an easy choice. Nuclear engines are not an invincible super technology and have major drawbacks. By the time of Seed Freedom, battery-powered engines had advanced tremendously. During the final battle, the Impulse Gundam Spec 2 used the Meteor. Furthermore, even after the battle ended, its phase shift armor remained active. This suggests that there was leftover battery power after using the Meteor's armaments. Taking all this information into account, the most natural interpretation is that the Rising Freedom's engine is battery-powered. Of course, remember that this is just my speculation. Some people may be concerned that this is a topic discussed in the game Super Robot Wars. While it is officially licensed, it's still a game developed by a gaming studio, a fact that's worth keeping in mind. If we were talking about the older Super Robot Wars titles, that point would certainly be valid. Back then, the games were developed by companies such as Winkysoft and Banpresto, which were separate from Bandai and Sunrise. However, today's Super Robot Wars series is owned by Bandai. Because Bandai holds the rights, the games place greater emphasis on accuracy to the settings and can introduce Gundam series mobile suits and characters much more quickly. For example, the Rising Freedom Gundam was added to the action game Extreme versus about 2 weeks after the Seed Freedom movie was released. This game is published by Bandai. This timing would simply not be possible unless the film's production and the game's development were progressing simultaneously. Naturally, the weapons it uses and Kira's dialogue in the game respect the story of Seed Freedom. Another well-known example is the G-Generation series, which is also published by Bandai. This series is notable for its approach to respecting official settings. Here's a little detail for you. What do you know about Gundam's armor in Sea Destiny? Surprisingly, the official setting materials state that it has phase shift armor. Although there isn't a single scene in the anime where its phase shift is activated, the setting still exists. That's why the Gundam comes equipped with phase shift armor in the G generation games. In closing, let's take a look at the mindset of the Super Robot Wars series staff. Takanobu Wada, who oversaw the production of the series, once shared his views on the direction of their work. Never ignore the thoughts of the fans or the original creators. If you want to create something without respecting the original, then just create your own work. You have to clearly understand where the line is that must not be crossed. This mindset is shared by the Super Robot Wars staff. Even for projects in which the Wada wasn't directly involved, it's reasonable to assume that this philosophy was carried through. One example of this philosophy in action is Evangelion. Evangelion is a robot anime series created by Gainax with Hideaki Anno as the director. Anno later established his own Studio Color, which would eventually produce the latest Gundam series, G-Equax. In a sense, Evangelion is a cousin to the Gundam series. Evangelion features the AT Field, a barrier-like defense system. The enemy angels use it, and the Evangelions are also equipped with the same ability. An AT field is extremely difficult to break through with conventional weapons. That's why it often needs to be neutralized in battle using another AT field from an Evangelion. When the staff was preparing to bring Evangelion into the Super Robot Wars series, they struggled with how to handle the AT field. They went directly to Evangelion's creator Hideaki Anno and asked for his opinion. He responded if it's an extremely powerful super robot weapon, then it can break through an AT field. Within the Evangelion story, there is even a scene in which a prototype weapon unleashes an immense amount of energy to attack an angel without relying on an AT field. So Anno's answer wasn't just being polite to a game company, it was a cool-headed analysis based on events that occurred in the story. The staff works under the philosophy of not deciding on their own, but respecting the opinions and interpretations of the original creators when developing the game. As an aside, it's said that Anno asked, could you let Charles Noble pirate Evangelion unit too? When the staff reminded him that Evangelions can only be pirated by 14-year-old children, he was reportedly disappointed. It's a cute story, isn't it? The Super Robot Wars series is a Bandai product, and Bandai holds the rights to the Gundam series. The staff creates its games with a strong respect for the original settings of every robot anime that appears in them. That's why I think it's wasteful to dismiss Agnes's statement as just a piece of secondary fan fiction. At the very least, it's content that can be considered one interpretation at the present time, and we should keep an eye on how things develop in the anime series moving forward. For example, we might see confirmation in Freedom Zero that the Rising Freedoms engine is battery-powered. Please share your thoughts in the comments if you'd like. Thanks so much for watching until the very end. See you in the next episode.